Every silent nod of support felt like a loud accusation. People weren't just backing Kim's story, they were finally calling out everything that had stayed hidden for way too long. As the trial dragged on, it didn't feel like Diddy was just facing a single lawsuit anymore. It was bigger than that. One witness after another, one buried memory at a time. This was a reckoning, and then came Kim's full testimony, on record, public, permanent. That's when the pressure started, closing in, not fast, but for good. It all shifted right after the lunch break. The kind of change in the air you don't notice immediately, not through noise or movement, but by absence. Diddy didn't come back. At first, court staff assumed the usual, traffic, a strategy huddle with his lawyers. Nothing unusual. But when the judge resumed and Diddy's seat stayed empty, the mood cracked. His lead attorney stood, cool on the outside but visibly rattled. "Your Honor," he said, voice steady but low, "Mr. Combs has chosen not to return for this afternoon's session. He's invoking his right to not be present." The courtroom buzzed, not loud, but deep, like a storm rolling under the floor. The judge noted it without fuss. But everyone knew what was really happening. This wasn't strategy. This was retreat. This was fear. Diddy had been watching his carefully built world crumble for days. He saw Kim's name come up in court. He saw her statement dominate headlines. He saw his legal team scrambling, overwhelmed. And now he was gone. That empty chair told a story louder than any lawyer ever could. For the first time, people started to wonder, had the man who always acted like he owned every room finally realized he no longer did? The prosecution wasted no time. They dropped a series of internal emails, some redacted, but all revealing. Subject lines like VIP zone protocol and special guest shielding flashed across the screen. One email stood out. "Make sure the guests sign in phones, especially the A-listers. Keep hallway access limited after 9:30. Mr. C doesn't want uninvited eyes. No rebuttal, no cross." Diddy wasn't there to deny a word of it. Outside, chaos. Speculation exploded online. Was he hiding? Would he come back? Had his lawyers told him to vanish before things got even worse? Inside, things stayed focused. The next witness took the stand, a former production coordinator from the 2016 awards show. She had never spoken out before. Fear, NDAs, loyalty, all the usual reasons. But now, Kim's face was everywhere. Something changed. Her nerves showed. But her voice didn't shake. "I didn't see what happened in the room," she said. "But I saw her come out. Kim. I was walking by when she opened the curtain. She looked lost, like she was underwater." "What happened next?" the prosecutor asked. She turned to a manager and asked, "Where's the fastest way out?" She didn't want to walk the red carpet again. She asked for the side exit. "Did she say anything?" The woman nodded slowly. She said, "I shouldn't have gone in there." Simple, quiet, but unforgettable. It was the second time someone in this trial had repeated those same haunting words. "I shouldn't have gone in there." The jury didn't need theatrics. They didn't need drama. They needed truth. And now they were getting it. The same truth, from different mouths. Kim's story wasn't a maybe anymore. It was becoming fact. And Diddy? He wasn't interested in facing that truth. Maybe not now, maybe not ever. As court adjourned for the day, no one moved fast. Reporters stayed. Jurors exchanged glances. Even the judge lingered. Everyone could feel it. Diddy wasn't just losing a case. He was losing control. Of the room, of the narrative, of his empire. And the worst part? The trial wasn't over yet. The next morning, the courthouse looked the same. Same cameras, same barricades, same security. But the vibe? Totally different. Now everyone knew what the prosecution had known from day one. This wasn't about one night. This was about a system, a culture, one that Diddy didn't just benefit from, but helped build. The judge addressed the elephant in the room. "Mr. Combs remains within his rights not to appear," he said. "But let the record reflect." The trial continues. Then the prosecution hit the gas. No witness this time, just paperwork. A decade's worth of security logs from award shows, galas, VIP events. All of it showed the same pattern. Diddy's private spaces, always off limits, always guarded. Always controlled by his people, not the venues. Guest logs, missing, or never kept at all. The jury read every word. And then came the clincher. A 3D reconstruction of the 2016 backstage layout. It showed everything: the trailers, the stage, the VIP area. Diddy's lounge, one way in, one way out. No cameras, no outside staff. According to the digital timeline, the moment Kim walked out, no one else went in. For the rest of the night, everyone saw it. The jury saw it. And somewhere, probably watching from a private location, Kim saw it too. The prosecutor didn't push. He didn't have to. "We're not here to say what happened in that room," he said. "We're showing you what she walked into, and what she walked out of, and what she carried in silence for 8 years. That silence? It was now screaming." Later that afternoon, social media blew up again. Not because of leaks, but because of a name. A-list actress, former music video star, 2000s icon. She posted just one line to her Instagram story: "That hallway." No photo. No context. No need. Everyone knew. Another voice, another memory. Another truth clawing its way out from under years of silence. They started calling it the Quiet Reckoning, a slow wave of cryptic posts from women in the industry. No one said it outright, but they didn't have to. Diddy built a legacy on charm, power, and influence. But now, that legacy was crumbling under the weight of the past, not because of a single story, but because the stories never stopped coming. And inside the courtroom, it still wasn't over. Not her stylist, not her team, not even Kanye. Kim didn't know what to say, because how do you report a feeling? How do you explain something that didn't cross a line but still left a scar? So she buried it, locked it away, until now. Because now her name was in court. And with it came the flood, the cold room, the still air, and the sentence that had haunted her for nearly a decade. "You're smart to go now." Then came the photo. Then came the witness. And with the world watching this trial unfold like a slow-motion collapse, Kim had a decision: stay silent or finally say out loud what she'd only ever said to herself, that what she felt that night wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. And that instinct had saved her. But maybe now it could do something more. Maybe it could bring the truth into the light. The next morning, Kim woke up to a reality she couldn't shape. Her name was everywhere: Kim Kardashian, linked to Diddy trial. Backstage encounter resurfaces after years. Why did she stay silent? It didn't matter that she hadn't said a word. The silence was being filled for her. Court documents were vague, redacted, but the press didn't need details. All they needed was her name and the scent of something unspoken. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Friends, brands, legal teams. And Chris, who'd handled 100 media fires in stilettos, sounded breathless when she called. "Do you know how big this is?" Kim didn't answer. She was staring at the photo, the one the prosecution apparently received from a backstage crew member, leaked overnight. In it, she's caught mid-turn in a dim hallway. Diddy stands just feet behind her, leaning forward. Her arms are crossed, tightly over her chest. Her eyes don't meet the camera. They look down and away. No flash, no pose, no filters. Just a moment. Real. Raw. Heavy. and Kim remembered it. She remembered the twist in her stomach, the one that hadn't gone away in 8 years, because it was never about what happened. It was about what almost did, and how close it had come. Behind closed doors, her attorney moved fast. Media. Control, strategy briefings, full discretion. "Kim," he said, "you're not being accused of anything. But if they subpoena you, you'll have to decide. Cooperate quietly or speak publicly and control the narrative." Neither felt right. Stay silent, and they'd speak for her. Speak, and it could change the trial, and her life. By noon, Diddy's legal team fired back hard. A press statement polished and ice cold. Attempts to drag unrelated public figures into this case are reckless and defamatory. Mr. Combs has no memory of the alleged backstage encounter, and any claims to the contrary are false and driven by media hysteria. It was fast, professional, sharp, but the cracks were there now. And inside the courtroom, Diddy looked it. He whispered faster to his lawyers, checked his phone more often. This wasn't just another media fire for him to extinguish. This wasn't about controlling the narrative, because Kim wasn't just famous. She was untouchable. And if someone like her, who built an empire out of image, was suddenly this exposed, what did that mean for everyone else? The prosecution didn't force it. They let the photo circulate. Let the jury see it. Let them ask the question, why does someone like Kim Kardashian, someone always poised, always powerful, look so small, so out of place in that moment? Why? After all these denials, is Diddy once again standing at the center of something that feels too quiet, too familiar, too haunting? By evening, social media was on fire. Old interviews resurfaced, red carpet clips, paparazzi footage. Kim looking visibly tense around Diddy. Moments people hadn't noticed, or had ignored. But now they were puzzle pieces, and people were finally putting the puzzle together. Kim still hadn't spoken, but she was thinking about it, because this wasn't a headline anymore. This was a mirror, and in that mirror, she saw the version of herself she had sealed away, not out of fear, but because for so long, she'd believed that some rooms just weren't meant to be entered. But maybe this courtroom was one of them. And maybe this time, she wasn't going to leave quietly. Court was already in session when Diddy's lead attorney made his move. He stood, straight, confident, but something in it felt strained. His voice cut clean through the room. "Your Honor, the defense respectfully requests a motion to suppress any and all references to Miss Kimberly Kardashian in this trial. She is not a listed witness. She has not accused my client of wrongdoing. Her name is being used to inflame public interest and bias the jury." There it was. The move to shut the door before it could even open. The judge looked over his glasses. Still. Cold. Unreadable. Then the prosecution stood, calm, unfazed, and placed a thick file on the table. "This is not a media stunt, Your Honor," the prosecutor said. "Her name surfaced because it connects to a clear behavioral pattern. Miss Kardashian hasn't alleged criminal misconduct, but her interaction with the defendant supports a consistency that the jury has a right to see." The judge leaned back. "Does she intend to testify?" A pause. Then, "We have not issued a subpoena, but she has submitted a signed, sealed statement, and we have corroborating support from a third-party witness." That was the moment the air changed, because Kim Kardashian was no longer just a name. She was a documented moment, under legal counsel, on record, and the jury wouldn't forget that. Diddy's attorney stiffened. "This is trial by implication, Your Honor. Reputation assassination by association. If every woman who's ever been near my client is relevant, this isn't a courtroom. It's a circus." But the prosecutor didn't flinch. "Then tell us, why did your client go to such lengths to keep her out of it?" Silence. Thick. Electric. The judge tapped his gavel, not to silence the room, just to hold it steady. "I will allow the statement to remain in the record," he said. "The jury will decide its weight. This court will not erase the presence of a verified moment simply because it is inconvenient." Diddy didn't move. He stared forward, lips tight, one hand clenched so hard the tension showed in his knuckles. Behind him, his lawyers looked shaken. For the first time, they weren't controlling the story, they were reacting to it. Outside the courthouse, the media exploded. Paparazzi clogged the sidewalks. Anchors scrambled to rewrite teleprompters. Online, hashtags surged. Kim testified on Diddy files. Backstage truth. But inside, it wasn't just the jury leaning in anymore. It was everyone. Attorneys, court reporters, the judge. Because the statement hadn't even been read aloud. And still, its existence carried weight. It meant Kim remembered. It meant her silence wasn't ignorance. It was caution. And now, that caution had become record. Later that afternoon, a witness took the stand. The backstage photographer. The one who had come forward just days earlier, anonymously. He looked nervous. Clutched a manila folder like it might hold his spine together. When asked if he remembered the night Kim left Diddy's lounge, he nodded, slowly. "She looked shaken," he said, voice low. "I was told not to take photos, but I already had. I didn't delete it." The prosecutor stepped forward. "What happened next?" The man swallowed, hard. "Someone approached me, I don't know his name. He said, 'You didn't see anything. You don't want to lose your job.'" Click. The whole room shifted. A juror leaned forward, arms folded tight. Another scribbled something furiously on their notepad. "Why didn't you come forward sooner?" the prosecutor asked. His hands trembled. "Because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Until now." And there it was. A thread. Kim's memory, that photo, and this testimony, all now pulled taut, undeniable. When court adjourned for the day, Diddy stayed seated longer than usual. He didn't speak, didn't glance at his team, because no matter how many motions they filed, no matter how many times they tried to keep her out, Kim was already in the courtroom. Even in silence, she was shifting the ground beneath his feet. The next morning, the whispers started early. Not from reporters, not from Twitter, from inside the courthouse. Clerks, junior attorneys, security staff scrolling their phones behind metal detectors like addicts chasing a fix. A leak. Not the full thing, just a screenshot. A few blurred lines from Kim Kardashian's signed, sealed statement, submitted under oath 48 hours earlier. The words weren't explosive. They didn't have to be. "I entered Mr. Combs' backstage suite alone. I was not informed who else would be present. After several minutes of conversation, I felt deeply uncomfortable and chose to leave. I have never spoken publicly about this moment, but I remember the feeling clearly. I knew I had to go. No accusations, no dramatic claims. Just uncomfortable. And in the court of public opinion, that word hit like a detonator. By 9 a.m., "had to go" was trending worldwide. Inside the courtroom, the tension was stifling. Diddy arrived 15 minutes late, his suit flawless as always. But his face told the truth. Gone was the polished sheen. In its place, exhaustion, dark circles, drawn cheekbones, cracks in the mask. And when he sat, he didn't look at the judge or the prosecution. He looked straight at the jury. A man begging not to be what the headlines were already calling him. The judge's voice cut through the air, sharp and firm. "I am aware that a sealed document has been partially leaked to the press," he said. "Let me be clear. This court will not tolerate further breaches of confidentiality. If this continues, I will begin holding parties in contempt." No one spoke. But the damage was done. The jury had seen it. The public had absorbed it. And Diddy's legal team now faced a war on two fronts, the court and the world. The prosecution didn't press. They didn't need to. They confirmed the statement's authenticity, entered it quietly into the record. They didn't call Kim to the stand. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because the leak, intentional or not, had done something no witness could. It made people feel it. It made them believe her. Not because she accused, but because she remembered. And memory, after almost a decade, meant truth. The defense scrambled. They tried technicalities, chain of custody, relevance, emotional, manipulation. But the courtroom had changed. They'd seen the photo, heard the photographer. And now they had her words, calm, clear, devastating in their simplicity. Behind closed doors, Diddy's lawyers requested a sealed session with the judge. Rumors swirled, a motion to prevent Kim from testifying, or maybe an effort to limit it, short, controlled, defanged. But it didn't matter. The control was already gone. That afternoon, court ended early, a scheduling delay. Outside in Los Angeles, a reporter caught Kim leaving her office building. No statement. No entourage, just Kim, walking straight to a waiting SUV, flanked by silent security. But right before the door closed, a camera snapped one last shot, a single glance back. No smile, no fear, just resolve. And that one look, quiet, unguarded, real, told the world what it needed to know. She wasn't going away. Every quiet nod in that courtroom was louder than it looked. It wasn't just support. It was a clear rejection of the silence that had lasted way too long. As the trial dragged on, it stopped feeling like just one case. Diddy wasn't up against a single accusation anymore. He was facing something bigger, a slow but unstoppable reckoning. One witness, one memory, one crack at a time. Then came Kim's story, fully out in the open. And just like that, the walls started closing in. Not in a dramatic crash, more like a quiet, permanent lock clicking into place. It happened after lunch, not with a bang, but with absence. Diddy didn't return to the courtroom. At first, everyone figured it was something simple. Traffic, maybe a quick meeting with his lawyers, nothing unusual. But when the judge came back and his chair at the defense table stayed empty, people started whispering. His lead attorney stood up, calm on the outside, but pale, nervous. "Your Honor," he said, adjusting his tie, "Mr. Combs has chosen not to return for the rest of today's session. He's invoking his right to be absent." That was it, but it hit like thunder. Everyone knew what was really happening. This wasn't legal strategy. This was retreat. This was fear. Diddy had watched the case slip through his fingers for days. Kim's name had entered the courtroom. Her testimony had spread across the media like wildfire. His team was drowning in PR disasters and damage control. And now, by not showing up, Diddy sent a different kind of message. The man who used to walk into any room like he owned it might have finally realized the room wasn't his anymore. The prosecution didn't waste a second. They brought in emails, redacted but loaded. Subject lines like VIP zone protocol and special guest shielding. One email from a former assistant stood out. "Make sure the guest sign-in phones, especially the A-listers. Keep hallway access limited after 9:30. Mr. C doesn't want uninvited eyes." Dead silence. No cross-examination, no defense. Because Diddy wasn't there to say a word. Outside, chaos. Reporters scrambled. Twitter blew up. Was he hiding? Was he avoiding something worse? Had his lawyers told him to vanish before the next blow landed? Inside, the courtroom stayed razor sharp. A new witness took the stand, a production coordinator from the 2016 awards show. She had stayed quiet until now. Fear, contracts, loyalty, all the usual reasons. But Kim's face was everywhere now, and something in her finally cracked open. She looked nervous but spoke with control. "I didn't see what happened inside the room," she said, "but I saw her come out. Kim, she looked off, like she was moving through water." "What did she do?" the prosecutor asked. "She asked an event manager, 'Where's the quickest way out?' She didn't want to go back through the red carpet. She wanted the side exit." "Did she say anything else?" The woman nodded. She said, "I shouldn't have gone in there." Then she put on her sunglasses and left. That one sentence landed heavy, because it wasn't the first time the jury had heard it. "I shouldn't have gone in there." They didn't need drama. They didn't need tears. They needed consistency, memory, truth. And now, with a second person, echoing the same haunting line, Kim's story wasn't just believable. It was starting to look undeniable. Diddy wasn't in the courtroom to see it. Maybe because he couldn't. Maybe because he didn't want to. When court ended for the day, no one rushed out. Reporters lingered. Jurors looked at each other. Even the judge sat still a little longer. Because the truth was settling in, Diddy was losing more than just a trial. He was losing control. His image. His grip on the narrative. Maybe even his legacy. And the most dangerous part? The trial wasn't over. The next morning, everything looked the same outside. Same press barricades, same cameras, same sketch artists gripping their pencils. But inside? Different energy. Everyone felt it. A quiet knowing. The realization that Diddy wasn't just on trial for one incident. He was on trial for something bigger. A whole culture. One he didn't just benefit from. One he helped build, protect, and rule over. The judge addressed it directly. "Mr. Combs remains within his rights not to appear," he said. "But let the record reflect. These proceedings will continue without delay." Then came the next blow. Not a witness. Not a statement, cold hard documents. Security logs, spanning over 10 years, awards shows, industry parties, charity events. And all with one thing in common: Diddy's private spaces were always sealed off, always under his control, always guarded by his own team. Guest logs? Either missing or never kept. The jury read it all, line by line, still, focused. But when the 3D graphic popped up on screen, the silence thickened. A full backstage map of the 2016 Iconic Sound Awards. It showed everything: green rooms, makeup trailers, stage access points. And then it showed Diddy's VIP lounge. One entrance, one exit, no cameras, no outside staff, just his crew. And, according to the reconstruction, the moment Kim walked out of that lounge, no one else entered. All night. Everyone in the room saw it. The jury saw it. And somewhere, wherever she was, Kim probably saw it too. The prosecution looked right at the jury. "We're not here to tell you what happened inside that room," they said. "We're showing you what she entered, what she left, and what she carried in silence for 8 years. And that silence? It now screamed louder than anything else in the trial." That afternoon, the internet erupted again. But this time, not because of leaked files, because of a name. A-list actress, icon of the early 2000s, former music video star. She posted one line to her Instagram story. That hallway. No image, no explanation, just that. And the world got it instantly. Another voice, another buried memory resurfacing, another quiet admission. They started calling it the Quiet Reckoning, a wave of cryptic, subtle messages from women in entertainment, all different, all connected. For years, Diddy had lived as a symbol of power, charm, generosity. But now, that symbol was crumbling, under the weight of everything people hadn't been allowed to say. And this time, they weren't staying quiet. The courtroom never fully recovered from that last testimony. Not because it was explosive, but because it was plain, honest, undeniable, like a light left on in a room too long kept dark. Even the defense team didn't pack up right away. They sat there, still, shirts wrinkled, ties loose, glancing nowhere. They weren't waiting for a win. They were waiting for the echo to stop. It didn't. Outside, protest signs mixed with press badges. Some were loud, most were quiet, but all of them were facing forward now. The culture isn't a cover. We don't need details to believe discomfort. Power isn't proof of innocence. The jury went into deliberation with eyes no longer searching for the gotcha. They were looking for patterns, not just of actions, but of protections, silences, dismissals, of how long the industry had known and how much it had chosen not to see. By sundown, no verdict. But nobody left unsatisfied, because a verdict wasn't the finish line anymore. It was just a footnote to a much larger reckoning. Kim didn't tweet. She didn't call TMZ. She didn't pivot it into a brand. Instead, she stayed quiet. But no, longer silent. There's a difference. Behind closed doors, others were already reaching out. Former assistants, background dancers, PR girls who once stood outside velvet ropes with NDAs in their bags. People whose names would never trend, but whose truths mattered just the same. This trial would end. Soon. Maybe with a conviction. Maybe without. But in the long shadow it cast, something bigger was already happening, because one woman remembered, and said so. And in doing that, she gave the next woman permission to do the same. And the next. And the next. And the next. This wasn't about one night anymore. This was about all the nights we were told to forget. And suddenly, we weren't forgetting.